Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. And I'm not going to do this. Oh, I just did. Because
how we started.
I am not Seth David. I want to make that point very clear. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and introduce us. So anyhow, I just wanted to welcome everybody. We've got a lot of viewers starting to show up. This is really exciting. This is our first Thursday morning hangout. My name is Eric David Greenspan. I am a co-founder and the CEO of schoolofbookkeeping.com. And the reason why we, as a result of the success of our Friday morning hangout, we decided we need a Thursday morning hangout as well. Why? Because we can't all be there on Friday, and also because Friday is about accounting. And while accounting is really exciting, today on Thursdays we're going to talk about accounting also, but accounting practice marketing. And what we're going to do is we're going to discuss all the different things that you can do to help build your practice. And today we're going to focus on something that's been really hot in our accountants, bookkeepers, and business owners groups, affectionately called ABO, which is WordPress. And we've had a lot of questions about what is WordPress. I thought it was for blogging. Well, we're going to address that. We're going to take you in and discuss it and take your questions and really get into the meat of this and how you can use it to build your website or to at least be able to manage somebody else who is building your website for you. So business paid account can have 15 live. Thank you. Thank you. So it turns out we can have 15 because we are a business paid account. So please join us on the video if you'd like. In any event, just real quick, School of Bookkeeping was created a little bit over a year ago by myself and Seth David. And the reason why we created it is because we wanted to help people learn about bookkeeping and accounting. And it's designed for bookkeepers, accountants, ProAdvisors, enrolled agents, CPAs, business owners, and students. Now, something happened after we launched all of our courses, and we realized that there's a lot more that we could do. So one of the things we launched was our Q&A, which we call our answers forum, so our students can ask questions and get answers. Now that takes 24 hours, so we figured, you know what? We need to do more. So we launched our Hangouts. This is our first Thursday morning hangout. You're familiar with Seth's Friday morning hangout. This is another great way for us to interact with you and help educate. But there's more. I'm really excited to announce that just last night we created our beta for live chat. As an enrolled student, only for our pro members right now, you can log on at a specified time and ask questions to Seth or to me. There's two different dates. One's accounting practice marketing and one is accounting and technology, just like our Hangouts. We have them on Wednesdays and Thursdays, and I'll send you to that page later. You can find it on schoolofbookkeeping.com. But we will answer your questions live, whatever they might be. Okay, that's enough of that. Let's get started. So who wants to learn a little bit about WordPress?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to use our Too Legit to Audit website, which is the official blog of schoolofbookkeeping.com. I am not going to let you see the inside of schoolofbookkeeping.com itself. That is very secretive. Okay, so my company, which only has one client now, schoolofbookkeeping.com, has built both of the websites and a number of others for School of Bookkeeping. Too Legit to Audit is one of them, and I want to make this very clear. Too Legit to Audit is designed to be very simple. It's not really that sexy. It's very generic. And this is a blog. Now, the question we had the other day on ABO was, well, I thought WordPress was just for blogs. Well, that's kind of how it started, but not so much anymore. Today, WordPress is a full CMS, or content management system. And let me focus on the word content. What is a website? A website is something that informs, provides information, allows people to interact and contact with you, but it also is a great place to provide content. And content is great because what content does is, content is things like blog posts and images and videos. What's great about those things is, A, they're dynamic, they're fresh. If you know us and you know Too Legit to Audit and you know schoolofbookkeeping.com and you certainly know Nerd Enterprises, Seth David, you know that we produce a ton of fresh content every single day so that we can continually engage with our audience. Now, this may or may not be important to you as an accountant or a bookkeeper, but let me say this to you. If you want to become an expert at something, whether it just be bookkeeping or a particular vertical, Gina Rodkey, who's on with us right now, thank you again for helping me get this Hangout started. Gina is a master of a variety of different things. From my experience, what I think of when I think of Gina is that's the person I'm going to go to when I need Hangout help. So
well, thank you, Eric.
Branded herself. What's that? She has branded herself as someone who is very good at this. We've watched her do it, and and there's Seth David. He's okay with it as well.
Love that picture.
I'm telling you. So Seth David and Gina Rodkey are experts at things like this. You also know that Seth David is an expert at producing videos, using Camtasia, and then posting them to YouTube. And now with School of Bookkeeping, live and in HD. If you haven't had a chance to watch our latest video wishing Seth David a happy birthday, and by the way, Seth David, happy birthday.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, Seth.
Seth
Thank
David
you.
is now 39 years old.
Forever, like Jack Benny.
And I'm 25. Okay, so back to what I was saying. So the idea is to create content that people can relate to you and kind of view you as an expert in a particular area. The other great thing, and let's just face it, let's talk straight here. You want people to come to your website, except for a couple people I've chatted to who claim they don't, but that's okay too. Most of us do. We want people to come to our website and learn about us, and we want them to get a feeling and a flavor for who we are. So we create this content to do just that. So the other thing, though, where I was going is that we want Google juice. You might know that as SEO. SEO is important, and the way SEO works today versus the way it worked yesterday versus the way it worked the day, it changes every day at the point. Google is constantly changing the algorithm. Now, there are a number of ways to get people to your website, and social media is obviously very popular, but I like to talk about something called the hub strategy, and the hub strategy is very simple. Build your content using videos on YouTube, using your WordPress website as the hub. WordPress websites or any type of website is the hub. You want to drive all the traffic back to your website. Now, whether you're using Twitter or Facebook, Google Plus or LinkedIn to disseminate that information, the point is you want them to come back to your website. So, for example, while Nerd Enterprises has built their entire business around YouTube videos that drive traffic to their website that inevitably books a new client, which Seth does all day long, you can do the same thing, but the idea is you have to drive that traffic back to the website so they can find out who you are and pick up the phone and call you or send you an email. So everything goes into the website, and in this case, WordPress. So let's show you how that works. I'm going to go ahead and log into the back end of toolegittoaudit.com, which again is the official blog of schoolofbookkeeping.com, and you're going to see the dashboard. Now, don't let any of this fool you. It's not very complicated. It's actually very straightforward. I know there's a lot of things up and down on the left side here. That is how we control it. But reality, for most people, you're only going to work in a couple of different places once your site's up and running. And one of those places is posts. And I'm going to tell you the difference between a post and a page first to get started. A page is something along the lines of this. Give me just a second. Okay, so actually let's go ahead and look at schoolofbookkeeping.com for a second. So a page is something like our course development offering. And the idea here is that the page is there for life. It can change, it can be modified. I just updated it this morning, adding our new production queue. But this page stays here intact all the time. A post is very different. A post is something that you create on the fly, and that is your content. So when you refer to the term blog post, that's a post. If you're going to put up a video inside of a blog post, that is a post. You're going to create that content constantly. So it's kind of a one-to-many. You might create a page that says, these are my videos on BillQuick. And then within that page, you can have lots of links to the various posts about BillQuick. Okay? So that's the difference between a page and a post. And the majority of the time, you're going to create posts because you'll create your pages in the beginning, and you'll have your contact page and your about page and your core pages, and then you'll start creating posts, hopefully every day. The idea is to create content constantly. Okay, so let's create a post. Beth, should we just write a blog post right now and publish it live?
Sure, why not?
Okay, how to create, that's its title. Now, that's probably not going to be its title. And the reason why is because after we write the post, we may determine that for the best use for SEO purposes is to change the title. And I'll explain that in a moment. To create, add we started our blog post. We can then add an image to our blog post. So let's go ahead and click Add Media.
And don't steal images. It's bad news.
I say Seth's face.
Right? And we can add a video. Now watch how easy it is to add a video. I'm going to go to Fun. I'm going to find a few of the worst reasons to join schoolofbookkeeping.com. I'm going to grab the video. I don't want the list, just the video up to the end. And I'm going to put that, I keep clicking on the wrong screen. Sorry, guys. I'm learning. Okay. Into my WordPress blog. That's it. I copy and paste.
Paste the URL.
That's it. You're done. So I now have a post with some text. I have some video. And I have an image. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to choose a category. And in this case, we're going to call it Fun. I've already got my categories created. You can create a new category here. The purpose of categories is to categorize, but also it's great for SEO. And I'm going to also call this, let's add a new one. Let's call it WordPress. Okay, and you'll see that it selected those two, WordPress and Fun. Okay, now I'm going to scroll down the page a little bit further and I'm going to add some tags. Because he's so popular, I'm going to add Seth David. I'm going to add WordPress. I'm going to add blog post and whatever else I can think of, and I'm going to click Add. Okay, let's talk SEO. Now, ironically, if you look up in the top left corner here of our WordPress blog, you'll see there's a little arrow, or you'll see there's a little recycle arrow kind of, that is an update to WordPress. That is an update to a plugin. Let me explain what plugins are. It's real simple. Thought about this in the shower this morning. You know the apps on your iPhone or your Android? WordPress is the iPhone, or in this case probably I should say Android, sorry. And the apps are plugins. So the apps make your mobile device really useful by adding all kinds of features. Plugins make your WordPress blog really useful by adding lots of features. So if we want to, we can update the plugin right now in front of you, and you'll see, ironically, of all plugins to be needing updating today, it happens to be our SEO plugin. I'm sorry, it's not. It's Google Analytics, the SEO one I did earlier. So, but it's the same manufacturer, Yoast. Remember that name. This is by far the most popular SEO plugin for WordPress. By the way, this is being recorded, so if you forget, you can come back and watch it later. So how do we update a plugin? It's pretty simple. I'm going to select them all and hit Update Plugins. Now, Too Legit to Audit's going to go into maintenance mode for just a few seconds, and it's done. That's it. We now have the latest version of Google Analytics by Yoast. I'll talk about Google Analytics in just a moment. Let's go back to SEO. Okay, so you can see WordPress SEO by Yoast is embedded into my post page here. This is another plugin, and what this one does is it allows us to make sure that we're creating our post properly so that it gets the most Google juice. Google juice and SEO can be used interchangeably. And I'm going to create a focus keyword. In this case, it's going to be blog post. The only purpose of the focus keyword is to help me focus. I want to focus my post around this particular term. Now, do I want to go and put blog post in my post itself 7 times so that it gets more SEO? Probably. I'm probably not going to do that, though, because I don't want to create a blog post just for the sake of creating a blog post. I want to create great content. Now, if I'm writing about blog post, and that's truly my focus keyword, it's probably going to show up 7 times in a 300 to 500 word WordPress post. Once again, 300 to 500 words. That is your goal in a blog post. Google needs some content. If you put one sentence like I did up above and leave it, you're probably not going to get a lot of attention. So we can add on to that later. So I've got my focus keyword. Clearly blog post is the most popular term I'm using. And now I'm going to add a title. And in this case, it's already placed how to create a blog post and added toolegit2audit.com. I don't want toolegit2audit.com in there, so I'm just going to call it how to create a killer for SEO. Killer SEO blog post. Let's do it that way. Okay. So there's my title. Now, remember I told you earlier that I was going to create a title and probably come back and change it? Well, I just did. So now I'm going to go ahead and copy this, and I'm going to create my title here to match. Now here's a big one. This is my URL. This is what people are going to find this particular post on. It was auto-created by my original title. I'm going to click in here on Edit, and I'm going to delete it and click OK, and watch what it does. It now added, you can't see it all, but it now added how to create a killer SEO blog post as the URL. And why do I want all of that in there? Well, I definitely want blog post in there because that's my focus keyword. I want the words blog post in my title. I want the words blog post in my content. I want the words blog post in my URL. I want the words blog post in my tags, so on and so forth. That's how you get SEO content to work for you, or content to work for you from an SEO perspective. Okay, one last bit. When somebody goes to the site and or goes to Google and searches and they see your blog post, you want them to see the title, but then below that you see a meta description of what the actual blog post is about. We're going to create that now, and I'm going to start with how to create a killer SEO blog post. So your I won't worry about the capitals right now for the sake of our discussion. So the description is a bit more than the title, but notice blog post is everywhere. Okay, that's pretty much it. There's one other thing called a feature image, and pretty much all newer themes for WordPress have a feature image. After I create this blog post, I'm going to go backwards, and I'm going to give you a bit more of an overview on WordPress. I wanted you to see it in action first, and then I'll explain exactly what all this means. So I'm going to create a feature image here, or add a feature image here, and I can either add it from my existing library, which I'll just choose this one, or I can upload a new picture. And what this is going to do is it's going to create, and I'm going to go ahead and publish this, and then we're going to take a look at it. It just takes a couple of seconds for it to update, and then it'll show me View Post, which I'm going to command click on. That's a Mac thing, and that'll open it up in a new tab. And there it is, our first blog post. Pretty easy to do.
I'm sorry, Eric, what did you just do? We command clicked? Repeat that.
So when you're in let me move out of this. When you're in a page, whoever's got some background noise, could you mute, please?
I think Gina's sound is doing the Mickey Mouse thing again.
So there are a number of ways. Is
Oh, no,
me?
sorry, it's Dennis.
Yeah, Dennis, I think it's you, buddy. Welcome, by the way. So one of the things you can do when you're creating, and this isn't a WordPress thing, this is a, is that me?
No, I think it's Dennis.
Okay. Dennis, can you mute, please? Thank you. All right, so inside of a browser, and pretty much anywhere within a computer, you can do things with keyboard commands, and sometimes they're really useful. But in a browser, you can either, if I were to click View Post right here, what's going to happen, Gina?
What's going to happen if you click View Post?
If I click View Post right here, what's going to happen?
You're going to go out of where you're at and view the post.
It's going to switch to View Post. By holding down the Command key, it's the same thing as right-clicking on this and saying Open Link in a new tab.
Oh, got it.
Just a quicker way to do it.
Got it.
We're going to do definitely going to do a tech hangout on keyboard shortcuts. I would like to learn some from you, by the way. Okay, let's back up and let's talk a little bit more about just the overall picture of WordPress. Again, content management system, or CMS. Yes, it is for blog posts, but it's also for creating an entire website. So WordPress is the software that runs the website. And to get started with WordPress, you get a domain. You get a host. Both can be done through somebody like GoDaddy. You can get a domain one place and host it somewhere else. I don't recommend that for rookies, because then you have to redirect the DNS. When you have your domain and your host at the same company, it's usually just one click to launch. Once you have your domain and you have your host, you usually, particularly in the case of like a GoDaddy situation or some of the other big brands, you can then click to install WordPress, so you don't have to do it manually. Don't try this as a rookie. It's not something you want to do to install WordPress on your own. Try to do it through your hosting provider. Okay, so domain, host, WordPress installed. The next step is choosing a theme. And this is what makes WordPress really cool. Themes are added on top of WordPress to change the way the site looks, and equally important, the way the site is developed. Every theme has its own design tools built in. They all use pages, they all use posts, they all have comments and all the other features that are native to WordPress that you can see on the left here. You'll always see things like posts, media, pages, comments, and so on. Appearance, plugins, users, tools, and settings. SEO, pop-up, BWS, Chartbeat, and the rest of these are all plugins that I've added to my WordPress on my theme. So let me give you an example of a theme. In appearance are themes. I use Divi here. It's from elegantthemes.com. I think it's $68 a year, and they give you 86 or so, 68 or 86, I can't remember, different types of themes. And Divi is their front runner, and it's really slick and very easy to use. Now, when you get WordPress, by default, it comes with 2012, 2013, 2014, and now the new 2015. And you can use these. They're rather generic, but understand that a theme can be built upon and modified in a lot of different ways. If you're a developer, you'll take a theme that's basic or use something like a bridge such as Thesis, and you'll build on top of that with lots of code. We don't want to talk about that. That's not what we're here for. We want to pick a theme that we can use and we can manage. Divi is one of those. And let me show you how Divi works. So in Customize, I can set a number of different features in Divi. And these are some of the basics, like colors. Then it's specific theme settings. Do I want it boxed, or do I want it to stretch the entire page? Boxed or stretched? Do I want Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn icons in the header or the footer? Do I want the search icon? Simple things like that I can turn on and off. The header style, do I want it my logo in the middle or do I want it shoved over to the left? Now these are different on every theme, but they all kind of make sense, and it's really becoming more fluid in the latest version of WordPress because a lot of these features are something that you'll see repetitively throughout different themes. Better theme manufacturers do it better, make it easier. Now, let me tell you what a better theme is going to cost you. Less than $100. A really good theme is less than $100. The theme we used for schoolofbookkeeping.com I think was $60, and I love it. It's the most powerful theme I've ever used. It has tons of end user capabilities, but also tremendous development capabilities. Development is like coding in HTML, PHP, and then CSS. You don't need to learn this, but you'll hear it. CSS is for designing things. Like, I don't want to see a particular bar or edge, or I want to change the colors. CSS gives you a lot of control. You don't have to worry about that right now. Another thing is fonts. Back in the day when the internet just got started, we were stuck with the fonts that came. Today, we can open that wide open with the use of Google Fonts, which now allows us to pretty much choose fonts from anywhere. This has Google Fonts embedded, built right into it, and I can choose them right here. I love Open Sans. Schemes, something specific to this particular theme. This is the red scheme. If I change this scheme to orange, you'll see it dynamically update, but it won't show to the public until I go up here and say save and publish, which I'm not going to do. Background image, if you want one. Navigation. Now, this is interesting, and I'm going to show you how menus work. Back in the day, let me answer a quick question. Folks, I'm going to ignore the questions just for now because I want to stay focused, but I will definitely go back through them and answer them and put them up on the in the description of the posted video. So menus are relatively simple to use today. In the old days in WordPress, you had to do all this crazy stuff to create a menu. Today, you can actually go right into the menu, create it, drag and drop whatever posts and pages you want in the menu to link to, and then here you choose the menus you want. Now, some themes allow you a primary and some themes allow you more. The primary menu is the one up at top, the one you see here. If there was a secondary menu like there is in schoolofbookkeeping.com, you'll see it down here. This is the footer menu. So I have two separate menus that I can create and place in different places so that I can manage them. This is great because if I want to remove add your course tomorrow, I can do that and only affect my bottom footer menu. I'll show you how this works in just a moment. And then widgets. What are widgets? See this right over here, this too legit to audit on the sidebar, as it's called, and see the search and the recent posts and everything else you see here on the right side? Those are widgets. And you know those things at the bottom that you commonly see on a blog? Each one of these is a widget. Footer area 1, footer area 2, and so on. And let me show you how that works. On the sidebar, we have text, a text widget. And that's all it is, text. You can put HTML in there so that it looks pretty, but it's just text. And as you can see, the text that I put in is right here. And I'll show you. See that? Whatever I type in there shows up on the right side in that particular area. Now, this particular widget is at the top of my sidebar widgets. If I were to grab this widget and drag it down one, it's going to move below search. Probably not a bad idea. I'm glad I noticed that. Recent posts, self-explanatory. Remember when we created our categories inside of our post? Here's where they show up so that people can choose by category. Remember the tags we created? You've heard of a tag cloud? That's where they come from. And an image. And in this case, the image is the not Seth Davids. Same thing with the footer area. In this case, our most popular posts are here. Look at that. Look at the #1 post on Too Legit to Audit is Happy Birthday, Seth David. And so on. Archives and footer area 2, you see them? This is this. This is this. And by the way, this MailChimp sign-up form, what that does, obviously, is it adds somebody to my MailChimp list. Does anybody have any idea how that MailChimp sign-up form got there? How did I get access to it to be able to use it in a widget? What did I add to get that to work? iPhone has apps. WordPress has plugins. MailChimp plugin enabled me to, basically when I added this plugin for MailChimp, all of a sudden when I went to my add widgets, there it was, MailChimp sign-up form, and I can now drag and drop that. Every time I add a plugin, something gets added somewhere within WordPress and gives me new features. Okay, I'm not going to publish this. I'm going back. And so that's our theme. We can pick different themes, customize them, and then we can get really into the customization of the theme. Every theme has a different setup. These are the deep core integrated features of the site above and beyond what we just saw in Customize. Now, the theme we use for schoolofbookkeeping.com doesn't have this. They have taken advantage of what you just saw in Customize and built all of the features in there, and that's the wave of WordPress right now. It's going to be one place in the Customize section that we just explored where you do everything. Until then, some themes have their own little system to do that. In this case, you can see I can add a logo here, which is what appears at the top. A favicon, which is that little thing, the little, what I like to call a chingadera that is next to your website in your browser bookmarks. Settings like a fixed navigation bar. Do I want my navigation bar to always be there when people are scrolling, or do I want it to go up with the site? This or this? Simple things, and it just goes on and on and on. And again, they're all different, but these are the basic features you're going to see, and they're pretty repetitive throughout. Things are called the same. Here's an SEO box. You saw the Yoast SEO that I showed you earlier that was embedded into the post. I like it better. So don't be confused. A theme can come with its own built-in SEO tools. You can choose to use them or not. Another great example of that is Google Analytics. Real briefly, Google Analytics just tells you who went where, when, and how. How many people visited, what they did when they were there, where they came from, and so on and so on. It's a lot more than that, but that's the gist. When you create a Google Analytics property, as they're called, basically your URL. So I go to Google Analytics, I create a property called toolegittoaudit.com. It gives me a bunch of gobbledygook code. I take that code and I paste it into a particular area that takes that code and links it to Google Analytics so that it can track. I can copy and paste that code here, but I don't want to. And let me tell you why. If I change my theme, my Google Analytics code is gone. And if I forget to put that Google Analytics code back into my new theme, I'm lost. So what do? I use Yoast other program called Analytics, another plugin, and this plugin will stay there regardless of how many times I change my theme, and my Google Analytics link will always remain intact. Okay, so the plugins thing, I love to go backwards. So now that I've kind of taken you there, I'm going to take you into the plugins so that it makes a little more sense. Again, these are your apps for your iPhone. Plugins are to WordPress. These are the various ones that we use. Akismet is pretty much native to all WordPress installations. What it does is it blocks spam from your comments. Very, very important that you do it. How you connect it, we can talk about offline. It's very, it's time-consuming to get it going. It's not hard, but it's time-consuming. Chartbeat is a plugin. What does Chartbeat do? Let me show you. My favorite thing of all time. There are currently 17 people on schoolofbookkeeping.com. 9 of them are on my Thursday morning hangout page. Hello to you. Isn't that cool? Now, I'm going to give you some insight, some truth here. You get my emails, our emails. I know you do. And if you don't, I'll add you back. I'm kidding. When I send those emails, I love seeing you laugh and not hearing your voices. It's awesome. So when I send you those emails, I flip over to Chartbeat and I watch you show up. I don't know who you are, but I know you're there. That's how you know if your campaign is working. If you create a new blog post, wouldn't it be cool to know if somebody's reading it? Not tomorrow, after the fact, but right now. I just published it on Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and all these other places. I want to know, are people paying attention? Sometimes they don't. And other times it goes nuts. $10 a month for Chartbeat. I love it. No, I do not work for the company. Okay. That's a plugin. And the way the plugin works is I create an account at Chartbeat, I add the plugin, and then I add a piece of code, in this case an API key, just a bunch of numbers that associates my Chartbeat account with my website. I add those two things, and now Chartbeat is connected to my website. Same thing as Google Analytics. Google Analytics does have real-time monitoring like Chartbeat, but it stinks. Sorry. Chartbeat is awesome. There are a couple of other even better ones than Chartbeat. We're looking at them. Right now I'm still a big fan. Okay, again, another really cool little plugin, Duplicate Post. You've got a great blog post, and you want to kind of just write another one very similar to the one you wrote, using some of the content without having to start over. You click Duplicate Post right underneath the post that you already wrote, and it makes a fresh copy of the exact same post. You go in and make modifications, change its feature image, change its title, and off and running you go. Sometimes that works great, sometimes it doesn't. When we launched, we're in the process of launching Expensify right now as a new course on schoolofbookkeeping.com. So naturally, we just duplicated the Bill Quick page and changed it to Expensify. It just takes some of the work out. Simple little things like that. Here is the Google Analytics plugin. In-Post Ads is a great little plugin from WPMU. It puts little things inside of your blog posts automatically that says, hey, try schoolofbookkeeping.com. And there's Jetpack, which I think I'm going to have an entire hangout on. Jetpack is free from WordPress and offers a whole bunch of really cool features. It's kind of like a ton of plugins inside of a plugin. Some people love it, some people don't. I talked about the MailChimp plugin. There it is. We also have one for Mad Mimi. That's the other service we use. Pop-Up Pro, when you show up at our website and it says, hey, you want to get some free content, join our mailing list, that's where that comes from. And so on and so on. Here's a pretty important one. Let's talk about this for a moment. Do you need to back up? What was it, Sarah? What's dollar question in plugin? Plugins are almost always free. Isn't that crazy? The really, really good ones might cost you a few bucks. I think we just bought a plugin. We bought a plugin last week for our student business directory at, for our jobs manager for the job center at School of Bookkeeping, and I think it was $120. But it's really robust. None of this stuff is going to break the bank, though. That's the beauty. Thank you, Seth, for confirming. So here, let's talk about this one. This is a free plugin, but it does offer an upgrade to a full version. I'm actually going to be switching to Backup Buddy from iThemes. That one does cost, I think, $65 a year. It's way better. But let's talk about backing up your WordPress site. If you're on GoDaddy and you're using Managed WordPress, which is one of their services, they back up for you. It's not enough for me. It's enough probably for most. I would still back up. But we use a VPS, or a virtual private server, which means we run our own server at GoDaddy. They don't manage it for us. We have to do the whole thing ourselves. So in that case, it's way more powerful and lots more users. And you know those emails when I say School of Bookkeeping is updating to another server? You just keep going from managed, which is shared, a bunch of people on the same server, VPS, which is a server that has compartments for your own little virtual server running on that particular device. So the space is yours, but you're still sharing a box. And then there's dedicated servers, which the whole thing's yours. And then there's Amazon, AWS, Amazon Web Services. When you get really big, which I hope to do very soon, you're on a bunch of dedicated servers that are load balanced. So you can have a variety of servers handling it for you, and they're scalable. So as you grow, they just add more servers to the mix. So backup. You must back up, and this is very important. Get out your pens. There are two areas of backup within a WordPress blog or WordPress site. There's the database, and there's the content. Updraft does both. And what is the difference? The database will store things like the subscribers for School of Bookkeeping, what they paid, when they started, how much they paid, last 4 digits of their credit card number, which is encrypted, whatever that may be. And actually, we don't store them, but it could be that. Comments, things that the interactions and engagements that happen on your site are stored in a database. The content itself is not. The images, the posts, the pages, all that other stuff is just sitting up there. Now, while Updraft will copy all of it for you, I also like to make copies on my own. Want to see how? This is called FileZilla. It is a free tool for FTP. FTP, File Transfer Protocol. You know how you drag and drop from one folder to another on your computer? We're not going to install a new version right now. That's what FTP is. FTP is dragging and dropping, so to speak, in this particular instance, from your desktop to the server at GoDaddy, if you will. That's all it is. It's just your file manager. So I'm going to connect right now for you live. And this is what you see. These are the 6 websites that are currently being hosted on our virtual private server. The one that matters the most, of course, is schoolofbookkeeping.com, and then, of course, Too Legit to Audit. The other ones are just marketing sites to bring people to our other sites. So inside of schoolofbookkeeping.com is something you're going to see very commonly. These 3, that's WordPress. See that on every WordPress installation. Now, inside of content is a bunch of plugins. And your themes. And your uploads, which are your images, videos, whatever else it might be. So that's your core content. And what I like to do is, while I do have my backups running, periodically I will create site backups. The last one I did was on 12/23, and I basically just literally dragged these particular folders, if you will, into a dated directory or a folder on my hard drive so that I have all my content. And if my site crashed tomorrow, I would have it all back. Now, the database is different, and it works very, very differently. Not something I'm going to go into right now. Databases are a little tougher, but you use a backup software application. Most of you will use something like Managed WordPress. If you get a host like a GoDaddy and you're not expert, find one with Managed WordPress where they do the backups for you, because then you can call them, scream at them at 2 o'clock in the morning if your site goes down, and they'll fix it for you. Okay, what else shall we talk about? Did I just close everything? I did. Nope. Okay, so look at Chartbeat. We now have 10. Hello to the new person. All right, so there's actually 17 people on right now. That's awesome. My first hangout. I'm very excited. Hello,
Eric,
Seth.
we just hit 20 within the last few minutes because we got a high traffic alert. So I don't know if you can check your email, show them what that looks like, and explain to them how that works.
I can do that. And can you all see that? Yeah. Okay, so this is what I get. Every time I hit a high traffic alert, Chartbeat sends me an email. And you know, I won't show you this because it has somebody's email address on it, but right below that email was a new user registration. That's the music that plays when somebody subscribes to schoolofbookkeeping.com. So
that is hysterical.
We just, yeah, see, this is the beauty of our business model. We're making money while we're having fun and sharing with you. So this is great. Okay, back to Too Legit to Audit in WordPress. So we talked about backup, and now here's a big one. Let's talk about security. Everybody is worried about security, particularly in your profession. I understand. There are two tools to use for security. I know them both very well. One of them is called iThemes Security, formerly known as Better Web Security. It's a plugin, and it's free. They do have a paid version. It does a little bit more. And there's WordFence. We use WordFence in place of iThemes Security just recently. I used to use them both at the same time. I like WordFence better. It does the job. What does WordFence do?
Does it encrypt somehow? Encrypt more?
It does a lot more than that. I'm going to show you right now. So I can do a scan to see if there are weird things going on my website. What's a weird thing on WordPress? Somebody somehow gets in and uploads these crazy Michael Kors links. You ever got a comment spam that says, try these, Michael Kors purses or Polo Ralph Lauren or whatever? What they do is they go in and they add these crazy links to your website somehow in the back end. It doesn't really affect you in a negative way, other than the fact that you've got a bunch of negative Google energy flowing out of your website, and Google will hit you for it, and it hurts your SEO. So it'll find things like that. But that's not the real gist of what this thing does. The real gist of what this thing does is it blocks the scam artists. And the way it does that is this is the big one. Brute force protection. If somebody tries to log into your website with the wrong username and password too many times, they get locked out. Now, I'm not going to show you any more of that because I have to maintain my own security. But the idea is people typically are trying to access your website by doing several things. One, using the username administrator. Don't use the username administrator. Most of these programs will automatically remove that, strip it out. The other thing is they will continue to use different types of usernames with different passwords, and their computers just go all night long until they find a match. And that's how they hack into a WordPress site. Well, what this program will do is say, okay, you've tried enough, you're gone, you're blacklisted, you can't come here anymore. So then they jump to a different IP address and try it again. It's a never-ending battle. but this is the key to keeping people out of your WordPress site, and it works really well. The other is backup. If you're backing up every day, which we do, on multiple different systems, and somebody hacks into your WordPress site, you roll back to yesterday. Worst case scenario. Sound like a QuickBooks file?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. My 4-year-old toddler is just arriving, so we've got a few more minutes. And what I would like to talk about, above and beyond security, is a little bit more about SEO. And in SEO, this is a big one. You guys are going to love this.
Eric,
Jackson, yes.
aren't you going to leave any time to answer questions?
I will. We're just going to probably have to do it with a 4-year-old on my lap. Come here.
Okay.
There he is. Okay, so SEO is very important, but one of the things that I want to share with you, and I don't do it here, but one of the things I want to share with you is what is the image that shows up on Facebook when you publish a post? You know when you publish a post on a Facebook or on a Twitter and something shows up that you didn't really want? You want to know how to fix that? Watch this.
Please.
This is cool. Everybody make a note of this address. developers.facebook.com/tools/debug, D-E-B-U-G.
Can you put it in the chat?
Yep, you got it.
Thank you.
Now what this allows us to do is type in a URL and see what Facebook is going to post before we do. So this morning I had to debug my Thursday morning hangout because the image was wrong. And I fetch new scrape information, and Facebook goes out, looks at my page right now, and pulls the appropriate content from it and makes that particular image and that particular, remember the titles and the descriptions we created? That's what it pulls. So I created a description of Thursday morning hangout, 9 a.m. PST, accounting practice marketing with Eric David Greenspan, CEO at schoolbookkeeping.com. That was the description that I put in my page. Remember that section? So in this case, Facebook goes out, finds that description, so that when I go to post it, it knows to pull the right image. And look down below. See the description, Thursday morning hangout? That is pulled from the Yoast SEO boxes that we filled in earlier.
Get out.
Cool, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's very important to note that if you make a change, Facebook will not dynamically pick up those changes immediately. You may have to go in and use that debug piece to update it immediately so that it gets fresh. If you wait 30 minutes or so, then it probably will work. But every time I create a blog post, I'll test it before I post on Facebook. And if it brings up the wrong image, here you go, son, then I will go into the debugger, update it, get it to refresh its settings, and then go post it again. Pretty cool, huh? Okay. You know what? We're at just about 10 o'clock, and we could definitely run late today because this is our first, and we're getting good at this. I think I've covered enough for you today. I would love to take some questions.
Eric, I just want to ask, do you know if there's like a service, someone you pay to do all this for you?
Oh, hi.
Hello?
That's me. Sadly, I'm not taking new clients. So I cannot offer my services right now, but there are a number of whoever is back. Dennis, I think that's you again. Yep. Thank you, Dennis. There are a lot of developers out there. I don't really have any referrals. Let me be very frank with you. In my 25 years starting my career at IBM as a tech guy, I have referred a lot of technical people, I've never really found a web developer that I would refer that I can trust.
Okay.
They seem to be flaky. If I get a little bit of free time, if Seth stops, putting me on the whipping post, maybe I can help a few people with a few things here and there, but I definitely can't take on a full project right now because we're booming at School of Bookkeeping, and we got to focus on that.
Right. It's a lot of stuff to do just from watching. It's
Yeah, and I have enough to do with accounting. I don't know that I can handle all this.
Yeah.
I agree with you, Yvette.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I was looking at one-stop shops.
Yeah, and for your profession, I mean, look, I can do the initial setup on a WordPress site for all of you. $500 can get you the whole thing set up with the basic plugins and up and running. I can do something like that for you. Ongoing maintenance, what I would rather do, maybe find a group of you if there's 5 or 6 of you that are interested, and then we can do a private hangout, and I'll just teach you so that you can do it yourself. I really
I'd be interested.
I'd pay for that.
I'd be willing to discuss it. I gotta sit down. Look at Seth. He's going, "Don't you dare."
Well, I also wanted to say this is the exact reason that a little more than a year ago, I contacted Eric and said, you know what, I know what I need to do, I know how to do it, but I can't do it all. And that's why I brought in Eric, and I'm grateful to this day that Eric saw value in what I was proposing to do and was willing to help me.
Thank you for that nice plug, Seth. David.
So we need to find an Eric.
Yeah, I mean, I'm inclined to help several of you. I'll definitely, those of you that are interested, just email Eric at schoolofbookkeeping.com, and I will definitely entertain at least getting you up and running and started.
It's the same thing with accounting. I hate to recommend a CPA or even recommend another bookkeeper because one year they're fantastic, and the next year they let me down, and then it all blows back to me. So,
well, and you know what?
Business is like that.
It's a lot like accounting in the sense that you just need somebody sometimes to really get your QuickBooks file set up and get all your chart of accounts going, and then you can do some of the inputting yourself, but then you have your bookkeeper come in to do reconciling and the variety of things that you do. So it's really kind of like that in WordPress as well. Some people like your bookkeeper or accounting person to do it all, and some people just want them to do end of month or end of quarter or end of year. So
well, skill levels, yeah. Everybody's got different skill levels and experience. So.
Yep.
So Eric, I want to go back to Dennis's problem. He was Mickey Mousing because he wanted to ask a question.
Right.
Are there any accounting content plugins?
Content.
We need more specific information. I mean, accounting content plugins that do what?
I know what he means. He's basically talking about this. For example, there's a website out there that CPA Site Solutions, I think it is one of them, where
that's what I use.
Yeah, they build a website for you and they automatically populate it with generic, not so generic, but still generic because I think a lot of people use it.
Newsletters.
And links to W-2 form, whatever. Yeah. Whatever it is. I have a couple of clients that I've just moved off of that. Is the volume in the background? Jackson, turn that down right now, please. Thank you.
It's expensive, and if you add ShareFile on top and not use their portal, then really, what am I paying for other than pages?
Well, here's the thing. Okay, 2 problems with doing that. I'm not opposed to it, but here are the problems, so you understand. 1, if you leave them, you lose it.
Right.
You built. And the idea of a website is to build it and leave it and build on it forever. We talked about this guy with the W-2 forms last night on Abo, who's had a website since 1987 or so, if that even
gosh, I know.
Probably early 90s anyhow. And it's not beautiful, but it's littered with fresh, beautiful SEO, Google Juice content, and that's built up for him all over the place.
You couldn't even read it. It was overwhelming.
Yes. But let me tell you why. And Linda, I see you posted, yes, you can buy accounting content, but I'm going to tell you very clearly, buying content is not going to necessarily benefit you. There's 2 other reasons for that. 1, everybody else is using the same content. They're not replicating. And Linda, we know you're not buying it. We just know that you're helping us let everybody know that it's out there. But the reasons why it doesn't necessarily work great is because if it's replicated, Google doesn't want that. Google wants fresh, unique content.
That's right.
That's
So
what
we're down to the blogs. So then their blog is like really generic, didn't have anything fun on it.
Okay, now the other part about CPA Site Solutions, and again, I'm not bad-mouthing them in any way. I think it's a great service.
No, got me up and running.
But here's the thing, okay? So you leave them, you lose it. Now I do believe they allow you to keep the posts that you create on your own with you. That's great. But you're going to move them to a new website and start all over again with your SEO. That is a dangerous thing. And so both the content is not necessarily unique to you. You lose it when you go, and you're not really creating anything unique about your particular business unless you're adding content on top of that. So if you're going to use a site like that, build your blog posts, write your content above and beyond, and plan to never leave.
Are they my host when you're talking about who's hosting?
No.
In this particular case, they do host and do everything for you, right, Dennis? I'm almost sure they do. But regardless of that,
is my host
Yeah,
for my shopping cart.
what they really do, and one of the clients that I work with had a similar thing like this, and they add plugins to your WordPress site if it's yours, or they can build your own and host it for you. They give you both options. So if you have a WordPress site already or another website, they can add that content as a feeder into your existing website. That to me would be the preferred method, and that's the real question, which Dennis asked. Are there accounting content plugins? Dennis is what he's saying, and what I hope he's saying, and what I would like to see you do is build your own website and then find a way to feed in that great content, not necessarily for SEO, but just to give that value to your customers, because if they need to be able to find forms, there it is.
Eric, I have a question for you, because I don't do content, okay? For me, my primary focus was just to, if somebody is looking for a bookkeeper in my area, that I show up #1 on the search engine, both not only in the local but organic searches. And I kind of did it all myself. And I'm always checking it. I'm still like #1 for bookkeeping services, Walnut Creek, San Francisco. Sometimes I just do bookkeeping services and I show up #1. So for me, content, I mean, how do you, I mean, I never do anything to keep it going that way. I mean, I'm just linked to many, many sites. And I did this several years ago, and I recently just had my website redone, I guess about 7 months ago. And it was very touchy because I had it on Yahoo and used their templates. And so I hired a web developer, and he did it on WordPress. And my main concern was not to lose my ranking on Google. And so I needed to hire someone that knew how to handle it, because they all told me that I could. This guy was pretty good. My main concern was that, and I'm still there. I don't show up in certain things like I used to be, like #1 bookkeeper for restaurant in San Francisco.
And okay, so the answer is real simple. There are no perfect answers to this because it's just such a moving target. But if you go with WordPress and stick with it, and you use a lot of things that are along the lines of what we talked about here, those things will naturally happen to you. But let me tell you a quick story. In my former company back in 1997, somehow, and I have no idea how, I got into Yahoo's directory, back when Yahoo was the big one, for custom software development. And it landed me a $2 million project, that one link. And it changed my business.
Right.
And I never wanted to lose that. Today, it would have been gone because they've changed everything. Yeah. So you can't necessarily guarantee that any of it is going to stay there. The best that you can do is just continue to create great content over and over and over again and keep it fresh. And this is very, very important, okay? Pens. You know I don't love Google+. You've heard me say it. I use it for one reason and one reason only.
Right.
Google+ is owned by Google.
Yes.
Google controls search. When you post via Google+, whether anybody reads it or not, it helps your SEO ranking.
Got it.
That's a known thing. Now, here's another one, and I hate to say this publicly, but it's truth. You know pay-per-click AdWords, also by Google? Strangest thing. If we spend just a few bucks a day, our SEO seems to go up. Isn't that interesting? Any other questions?
Google likes when you pay them.
Yes, they do.
I just saw your comment, and you know, I just did a search and did bookkeeping services Walnut Creek, and I show up #1.
It's regional, so you're going to show up #1 in your own local area. But I'm down in Southern California. When I search, I get all the services first. And you know what? I apologize. I do see YMS bookkeeping at the top. You're right. You're absolutely right. Your website does show up first. Then I get the services like Yelp and your ProAdvisor profile, and then I get some Better Business Bureau. I get for Walnut Creek bookkeeping service. So I assume that's not you. That's somebody else.
Yeah.
Then I get your Facebook page, and then I get walnutcreekaccounting.com. So you're right. Your website does show up first. So listing on those services is definitely helpful. And what I notice is your Google Plus page, I think, is what's driving your website to show up.
Okay. Yeah, and also when I do also go on to Yahoo and MSN, I'm still like on the top 3. So I mean, I check all 3 of them from time to time.
Let me ask all of you on right now, how many of you have a Google Plus page, hold on, for your business?
I do.
Oh, no.
You have it all set up and verified by Google. Did you get the postcard in the mail that they sent you and type in the numbers?
Right.
Sarah, do it.
And I
How
got
do you do
also
that? What do I do?
And also MSN does the same thing. They'll send you a card.
Don't worry as much about that one. It's not a terrible idea to be part of Bing, but I will tell you right now, for every 200 hits to schoolofbookkeeping.com from Google, we get
Google,
half from Bing.
Is that an application or something, or?
Just go to your Google Plus page.
Get verified.
You can go to the business here. You want me to show?
I think if you go to places.google.com, it's your Google Places
And then
listing.
there's also
It's not Places anymore. It's actually
Google My Business too as well. There's also this new thing that came out last year, Google My Business.
That's what it is. That's what Places has become. And so in this situation, this is my business. Let me
Yeah, because this personal and business all mixed together is...
It's convoluted now. It's interesting too because if you have an iPhone or an Android, I don't know if you know this or not, but the Google Plus app on those devices is only for your personal Google Plus. If you want to actually use the iPhone if you want to actually access your business page, you have to use the Manage My Business app, which is from Google. Yep, it's different and it's not great. It's not as it's similar in the sense though of having Facebook pages and Facebook groups and Facebook itself. They're doing the same kind of a thing. So, but it's challenging. So it's very important that you. And again, I'm not a huge Google Plus fan, and I forced myself to learn it. But this is my business page, and as you can see, the business page has this little tiny. See that verified mark right there? That website is linked.
How did you set it up? I missed it. Where did you find it?
So you have to.
Sarah's asking, how do you get verified?
Hold on. I haven't been in there in a while, but let me find. Hold on, Jax.
Google My Business. I could Google it.
So in sense here, I'm already signed in, but I would sign in.
Okay, I can figure it out. I can read. Okay.
And here's my ones for my personal ones. So you can see these are my business pages.
Pages on your personal.
Correct. And this one is my company 74 Marketing.
Yeah.
This verified right here.
Uh-huh.
That's from the postcard. So when you go in and create this page and you fill out all the blanks, it pretty much prompts you. It'll say, okay, great, you're now on. Now notice it's got an address and everything. This is what puts you in that listing with the little red blurbs, the little pop-ups on the map. So that's how that gets connected now. They've basically taken the old way of doing it with Places and tied it to your Google Plus page, your business page, linking the address, the website, the contact information, your hours, and that's how you get to show up in the Places screen now, which is above and beyond the rest of the areas that you're found on Google. It's not easy to do, and it takes time.
Oh, that time thing, yeah.
Yep. Folks, I've got to run. I got a little
Thank
boy who
you.
wants apple juice. I really appreciate everybody here. Thank you so much. Please don't forget to show up tomorrow at the Friday morning hangout with Seth David. He's going to, what are you talking about tomorrow, Seth?
January's Project Management Application Month. So we're going to be looking deeper at Asana. We're going to be looking at Smartsheet. We're going to be looking at Active Collab and all kinds of productivity project management applications.
All right. And I need to get to work on my cleaning up my samples.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clean out those samples.
See you
Sleep,
next
what's that?
week, folks. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Eric.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.